Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Thanks for joining us today. I know that you're all really busy, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. So today, this webinar is going to be Social Media 201, Making Social Media Work for Your Business. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nikki Ilkert. I am the Marketing Director here at Linked High Technologies, and this webinar is part of a series that we're bringing to our clients to try to reach out and help you with other aspects of your business besides just technology. Recently we had a Social Media 101 Lunch and Learn, and we got a good response for that, so we figured let's have another social media webinar, a social media series. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get started right after I go over some housekeeping items. I'm just going to put everyone on mute for the duration of the webinar until the end. I will unmute everyone at the end if you'd like to ask questions. So if you have any questions during the webinar, you can either type them into the chat box, or you can hold them till the end, and then once I unmute everyone, you can ask them. All right, so let's get started. All right, hang on just a second. There we go. Okay, here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to go over composing effective messages. Then we'll discuss how to go about gaining some followers on social media. Then we'll move on to social media advertising. Then we'll move on to content creation, business development strategy, and then at the end we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. Okay, so composing effective messages on social media. So every social media network has its own personality. They're all a little bit different and distinct. So if you take a look at this infographic, there's lots of these very similar to this one floating around on the internet. It basically takes one subject, eating cake, and it repackages it for all the different social networks, so you can kind of see that they're similar, but each one is different. Twitter, I am eating cake. Facebook, I like eating cake. YouTube, this is how I eat my cake. LinkedIn, my skills include eating cake. Instagram, here's a classic picture of the cake I eat. Blog, here's my cake eating experience. Pinterest, here's my recipe for the cake. And Foursquare, this is where I'm eating the cake. So just a little something to get us started. Every social network is a little bit different. So often it's a common practice for a business to try to save time, and they'll write one post and share it the exact same way on different platforms, say for example Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So as we can see here, it's going to save you time, but it's not necessarily going to be as effective, or it's not the right format for each and every social network. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about the big three social networks because we just don't have time to cover them all. So we are going to be covering Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn specifically. So starting with Facebook, the most effective length of a Facebook post, it has less than 40 characters. Once you get under 40 characters, it has 86% more engagement than those posts that have more than 40 characters. So keep it short and sweet. It's going to be easier for people to read quickly as they're scrolling through their news feeds. And the format shows that posts with optimized links work the best. And if you're not familiar with posts with optimized links, if you look to the right, here are some examples of those. As you see the post from Buffer, you'll see the text at the top, and then you'll see an image, and then you will see the headline and some information underneath. Once you actually put the URL or the link into the Facebook post, it'll load, and you'll see a preview of the picture and the text underneath. So the second picture at the bottom, it shows the best thing that you can do right there is to actually delete the link, because once you delete the URL, that picture and the information underneath is clickable, and those types of posts do much better once you optimize the post. And the best time is 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern on weekdays. And there's different information out there, but those are the latest studies. That's what they say. That's when the most engagement takes place. A lot of people are not allowed on Facebook during work hours. If they work, some companies block the site. So even though you are using Facebook for business, and you'll see this with the other social media platforms too, a lot of the best times are at night. And it doesn't mean you have to stay in the office until after 5. There are publishing platforms that you can use, like Hootsuite or Buffer, and a lot of them are free, and you can use it so you can write the posts earlier and time them to go out later on. All right, so some key items to remember about Facebook. Not every post will go viral, and that is perfectly fine. That's okay. Sometimes, when people start on social media, they have these really high expectations because, they hear about things going viral, and I mean, that's like 1 in a million. So don't get, frustrated or upset if that doesn't happen to you. And a lot of the times, the posts that do go viral are not in alignment with business goals, so you don't always want that anyway. You're going to see a much greater value if you just use Facebook to gain brand awareness and achieve specific business objectives like driving in-store sales, boosting app downloads, driving traffic to your blog or website, and so on. Okay, and the next point is the organic reach on Facebook is low, and what this means is that when you compose a post and you publish it, if you do not pay to boost that post, you're only going to reach about 3% of your followers or friends organically without paying to advertise. So again, don't get discouraged if not every post has a ton of likes or comments. However, the more you grow and the more relevant your content is, the higher your reach is going to be. But again, it also stresses the nature of being consistent and the importance of it, because you will have to post a lot in order to reach the right people. And finally, posting evergreen content. Don't forget to post evergreen content every once in a while, and evergreen content is content that will remain fresh and relevant for a long period of time. It's not so time sensitive, because the lifespan of a Facebook post depends on many different factors. One of the factors is actually usefulness. So even if it's an old post, it can show up in your newsfeed. If your friends or followers like and comment and share it, then you can actually increase that 3% reach to a lot more, because Facebook views it as important, relevant, and then it'll get shown to more of your friends and followers. And just quickly, here are the 4 common traits of a top performing Facebook business page. 1, they target a very specific audience. And this means they have someone specific in mind when they compose the post. They don't worry about appealing to everyone. Instead, they focus on specifically appealing to their ideal target audience. For example, we know our target audience is small to mid-sized business owners. They're probably really, really busy, and they care about everything pertaining to business, so we try to keep that in mind when we write our post so that it will resonate with them specifically. Next, they publish content that their audience finds useful or entertaining. That's pretty much self-explanatory. And they also publish very consistently, at least once per day. They keep the consistency up. People don't forget about them. Their page is always being updated with relevant, useful content. That helps. And then finally, they often get a lot of shares on their published content because the content was useful. Okay, so moving on to composing an effective message on Twitter. So Twitter is a little bit different. Twitter moves very fast. It's quick, to the point. It's very much in real time. And Twitter is used for information sharing, relationship building, and customer service from a Twitter for business standpoint. The ideal length is going to be between 70 and 100 characters. The max is 120, so this length is a little bit shorter. And the format generally follows one of the top 12 formats. It also uses a hashtag and has links. So, and also 4 p.m. to midnight on weekdays and weekends is the best time for Twitter. Twitter is definitely an evening kind of social media network. So to talk more about those 12 formats, when it comes to Twitter, Twitter's kind of unforgiving with the format and the language, a lot more so than the other social networks. There's kind of a formula that you have to use when you compose a tweet, and there's specific rules regarding hashtags and retweets and quoting sources. So we're just going to go over the top 3 formats, the most widely used formats. The first one is the shared content tweet. So you're just going to share content that was not created by you, it was created by someone else. So basically you can just put the article title, the URL, and then use a hashtag that is relevant and being used at the time. And then you really need to quote the source. So you put by, and then you put the @ symbol and the author Twitter handle. Okay, number 2, the problem and solution tweet. So next, this is also a really popular tweet format. I see it all the time. It works. It appeals to people not wanting to miss out, or not wanting to do something wrong or to fail. So the basic format is you say, don't let your asset, and then you have a negative result. So then you say, find out how to, and then there's the goal, and then you say here, and you have the URL and the hashtag. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, so I just used an example. So the example is, don't break Twitter rules. Find out how to compose a tweet here. Here's the URL, and then the hashtag Twitter tips. All right, so the third format is the stat or fact tweet. And it's basically just, did you know, and it has a statistic. And then you have the URL and hashtag. So it kind of appeals to someone who might want to learn more. It should be something that's kind of intriguing. They hear the stat and they're like, oh, okay, I want to learn more about that. And the only way they can learn more is by clicking the URL. So you can drive them to a specific page. Maybe it's your blog, maybe it's your website. So you can get that person to take that particular action. So if you would like to see the rest of the Twitter formats, you can go to bit.ly/12 Twitter formats. And I can also email this to you after the webinar is over in case you want to take a look. Okay. Now we're moving on to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a little bit different than Twitter and Facebook, and the things we've talked about so far, in that LinkedIn is strictly business. It is a business-oriented social networking site. You have to be authentic, you have to be professional, and you have to be informative. So on LinkedIn, what you want to do is become an authority, or the place where people go for information they find useful that they don't have to fact check. They trust you. The ideal length is 15 to 25 words. The format, keep it informative, use useful business-oriented content with links. It's always good to have links. You just can't say enough in those 15 to 25 words. And LinkedIn is great to use weekdays, morning to midday. A lot of people are on LinkedIn at work. Some people use it for prospecting. Other people use it for research, for business. But since it's a business-oriented site, it makes sense. It's good during business hours on weekdays. And the most popular types of posts, luckily, LinkedIn is pretty cut and dry with this. There are 3 definitive most popular posts. And number 1 is industry insights. So 6 out of every 10 LinkedIn users are interested in industry insights. The most in-demand, it's definitely the most in-demand type of content among LinkedIn users, and that is followed by company news. And the 3rd most popular is news, new product and services. Okay. All right, so now this is probably what you're more interested in, and we're going to talk about gaining followers. So you've built your social network. How do you get followers? That's what everyone wants, right? So we all know that it doesn't happen overnight. So what does it really take? So it takes hard work, consistency, dedication, and most importantly, the appropriate resources. Often, unfortunately, this is overlooked. Sometimes businesses do not devote enough time, money, resources to social media, and then expect to get a return on investment on it. But unless you have those resources to dedicate and you work hard consistently, chances are you are just not going to see those results. So how to get started? The picture to the right shows that you have to use all different approaches from all different angles. There's no, one-stop shop or one-shot deal that can get you all these followers at once. Well, actually, there is such things as click farms and other kind of sources that will buy you followers, but a lot of the time they are empty profiles and they will unfollow you just as quick as they followed you, and then you will have paid for a bunch of followers and they're not even real people and they won't be engaging with your page. So if you want to do it the right way and get people to engage on your page and actually care about your business and what you have to say, you have to approach it from all different angles. So the first thing you want to start with is your website. If you don't already, you want to have the links embedded to your social media networks appear prominently in the header of all pages of your website, if you can, as icons. It's the best way to do it. It's very clickable. People definitely recognize those icons. They know what it is right away. Click it. If you can, get it to scroll on all the pages. If not, certainly on your home page. Make it prominent. Make it easy for them to find. Don't make them hunt for it. Then after that, you can start putting your social media links on your collateral, things like your business cards, your email newsletters, your print newsletters, your blog, your trifolds, anywhere where you think it's appropriate. It's probably not going to be appropriate everywhere. If you have like a very formal piece of collateral, you don't need to put your social network links on there, but use your best judgment and put it on the collateral that you feel that it will work on. And then you also want to reach out to influencers. And some of you might be thinking, how do I do this? But you can either research on your own, or if you know influencers in your field or in the field that you want to reach, you can reach out to them through their blog, through Twitter, things like that. If you don't know, you can use a tool like BuzzSumo. And BuzzSumo is really cool because it's a search tool that tracks all different content on all social networking sites, and then it ranks them based on the number of shares on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google. So it's a really good way to really quickly find who's writing articles that are getting a lot of traction. And you can search by a keyword or a hashtag. Like if you are, let's say, in our business, LinkHigh, I might want to go on and search for the keyword cybersecurity and find a couple authors who are really getting some traction on social media, writing articles about something like cybersecurity, and then I can comment on their blog or tweet at their Twitter handle and see if there's something we could, have a joint venture together, or perhaps they can retweet my page to their followers and promote me, something like that. So you also want to make sure that you are active on social media with your users and your followers. You want to engage them. Every time someone comments or likes your photo, you want to be responsive. If they send you a message, you want to reply. A lot of the times these things, they just go unanswered. And I know personally me, if I'm a consumer and I tweet at a business, like for example, I tweeted at United not that long ago about a really bad experience that I had, and no one got back to me, and I tweeted again and no one got back to me, and I posted on their Facebook wall and no one got back to me. And that may be a policy that they have in place, because there are, some companies do have policies about that, but I mean, to me as a consumer, it annoys me when a company just will not acknowledge the fact that I am trying to talk to them. So the more you can engage with your users, the better. And you can also, like the content that your users or your followers are sharing. If someone's following you and they post this really great article about charity work they've been doing, you can share it then with your audience. So now they get this bigger reach, and they may thank you for it or repay the favor to you later. And then finally, of course, we have to touch on social advertising, because the reality is it's very, very hard to do this all organically. And sometimes it takes a little boost from advertising to gain traction, gain followers, but also to have other business objectives accomplished through social media. Just getting followers is not the only objective to social. There's plenty of other things you can use social media for. So let's talk a little bit about social media advertising. Before you jump in, you really have to think about it because you don't want to end up wasting your money. The first thing you have to think about is who is your target audience? As much information as you know about them, the more the better. You want to get the demographics, the age, the gender, the location, everything like that. You also want to, if you can, know what they're like behaviorally and psychographically. What do they like to do? What do they care about? What matters to them? Because on social media, you actually are able, on a lot of the networks, to target by interest, by things they like to do, by things that they're passionate about. So the more you know about your target audience, the better, because you can really narrow down and just talk to them. And then second, where is your target audience active on social media? You know, I talked about this a lot in Social Media 101, so I'm really not going to touch on it now. If anybody has any questions, you can email me about this after. But we covered in depth how to find where your target audience is on social, because if your audience isn't there, you don't want to waste the money advertising there. And then third, finally, what are your KPIs and goals for social advertising? So like I was just talking about before, gaining followers is not the only objective for social media. Yes, it's important. Yes, it's great. Yes, it's a good vanity statistic too. But at the end of the day, you're a business and you want to drive revenue and profit. So, you know, those could be your goals too. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but just make sure you define your goal before you start spending money on an ad campaign. All right, so what are the different kinds of goals you could have with social advertising? First, you can have page likes or follows. You could also increase your website traffic. You can increase conversions on your website. I know that Facebook actually has a pixel you can add to your website so you can track those conversions. Do you want to reach people near your business? Do you want to increase your social media engagement? Do you want to raise event attendance? Or maybe do you want to increase claims on a special offer or drive sales on a particular product? So make sure you define that audience, you know where they are, and you define your goals before you start. That way you're going to be able to have a very specific purpose and have measurable results. So after the ads run, you can look back at those metrics and figure out whether or not it yielded those results that you're looking for. All right, so what makes each social network different when it comes to advertising? They are all a little bit different. We're going to start with Facebook. Facebook has the largest audience at over 1.1 billion registered users. So that's a major plus here. It could give your company a lot of visibility. It may also be where, by default, a lot of your audience is just because there's so many people on Facebook. And with the options to advertise based on location, you can easily increase your reach. And unlike LinkedIn, it's a very cost-effective option, as we'll see later. Facebook is relatively cheap as far as social media advertising goes. You can actually spend as little as $1 per day. Not saying that's going to get you what you need, but if you wanted to, you could spend as little as $1 a day. All right, and also you can really get down to specific targeting here. Like you can target not only on demographics like age and gender and geographic location, you can also target by behavior and interest. For example, I see ads for yoga related items because one of my interests listed on Facebook is yoga, so someone knows I'm specifically interested in that and can specifically target me and others who like the same thing. One other thing that makes Facebook unique is you can create a custom audience, and what a custom audience is that using email addresses, phone numbers, or user IDs from Facebook that you have already, you can target your prospects that you may have information on Facebook. So say you have a list of prospects and you have their email addresses, you can actually put them into Facebook, and if that happens to also be their email address for Facebook, for their login, you can find them and you can advertise to them there as well. Also testing, Facebook offers really cool testing features. You can do A/B and multivariate tests. which is great. So you can run one particular ad campaign, and you can have multiple versions of the ad. You can do multiple graphics. You can do multiple taglines. And you can find out what's working, what's not. And you may think that you might not want to do that, but I know that I do that here, and I'm always surprised at what happens. There are some ads that just do way better than others, and I could have never, ever predicted it. And as long as you're willing to do the work and go in and look at those insights, you can actually change and alter the campaign as it goes. So for example, if I'm running a campaign to try to drive people to Link Hive's website, I can make 5 different versions of the ad. After one day, I can check it and see how each of those 5 versions are doing. And if one is doing way better than the others, I can shut down the other versions because they're not helping. Or if you want to run a whole campaign and check it later, you can do that too. And then, tweak as you go on, and you can always be improving your advertising because you never know until the numbers tell you what's happening. The cons, it's not as good for B2B business, and the metrics are not quite as robust as on the other networks. Okay, when it comes to Twitter, Twitter allows you to target people also based on their current interests, and you can target the audience of another user, which is something that's kind of unique to Twitter. So if you have, an influencer that you know of on Twitter, you can target their audience specifically with your ads, which is pretty cool. So the cons of Twitter are, even though Twitter has an ability to target users through keywords and hashtags, it's not actually that great. The selection of choices, it's not unlimited. You can't just choose a hashtag that you made up and target that way. Twitter gives you options, and they give you buckets that you can use. So for example, if a B2B inbound marketing agency is trying to market using those keywords specifically, they can't. The closest they can get is marketing. And that might work for you and it might not, because it is a little bit more general, but that's Twitter for you. And then LinkedIn, the user base is definitely a plus if you are B2B and you're looking for other business professionals. LinkedIn is certainly the way to go. Almost all of its users are business professionals, and your ads will almost always be seen by business-minded individuals, most likely like yourself. LinkedIn also has high conversion rates, which leads us to the next point. There's a quality of their user base because it's made up of all business professionals. That's kind of why it has that high conversion rate. You can also target well also, kind of like Facebook. You can target either by niche groups in a certain category. You can also target by demographic. What's cool about LinkedIn that's different is you can also target by title. You can target by industry. So very, very helpful if you're looking for a B2B audience. There's a couple cons, of course, as there are with all of them. There is a lower click-through rate. So don't expect a high click-through rate for your ad here. If you don't see a high click-through rate, don't be disappointed. You will rack in less clicks overall for LinkedIn. However, the users behind the clicks are usually much more qualified than the ones you'll get on the other social media channels. On Facebook, you might get as many as 1 in 200 impressions, and then on LinkedIn, it's common to receive only 1 in 500. However, the quality on LinkedIn is just higher just because of the makeup of the user base. And it's also a little bit higher cost. So another downside of running a LinkedIn campaign, it's normal to pay up to $4 to $5 a click on LinkedIn. The extra cost may be worth it to you, though, because you're going to have higher quality audience for your business by bypassing those who are not automatically interested. Okay, now we're going to move on to content creation. So creating a content strategy and schedule and sticking to it is really important, but before you start scheduling your posts, it's really important that you actually have something that you can share. You need to create the content. So what you want to do is you want to start building your content catalog today if you haven't already done that. and you need to be adding to it consistently. It's not something that you can just block out a week or two to do and then just be done with it. It's something you always need to keep adding. Update the pieces you currently have and always keep adding more into your arsenal of content. So you also want to vary the mediums of content that you have. You can do photos, videos, blogs, industry articles, stories, things like that, white papers, checklists. And remember that you can repackage one single idea into many different types of content. So for example, if I want to share ideas on how someone can choose an IT provider, we can make a checklist, a short video, a longer white paper, an ebook, an infographic. We can make all of those different pieces of content just from one single idea. And remember that you're always going to need to blog. Blog is something that some businesses overlook, but it's really, really important. It's a really powerful tool to drive people to your website and convert them, and it also helps with your search engine optimization for your website. And when you are creating this content, remember not to be too salesy or self-centered. Just remember that it's really not about your business. It's about what's relevant to your target audience. It's all about getting them a piece of content that they're really going to like, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to appreciate it, and hopefully they're going to share it as well. So you also want to source ideas from your employees or coworkers if it's possible. If you feel like you're running into a wall or writer's block and you can't think of ideas, some of my best ideas have come from coworkers. It's not something that you always have to do on your own, and they may not necessarily write it for you, but they can get the idea going for you, get the ball rolling. Maybe they can help you with an outline, help you with brainstorming, and you can take it from there. And now that you've got your content and you've got a library of content going, the other important part is that you really want to be aware of how you're housing your content and how you're driving people to your content. So you want to use your content to make people perform a specific action. For example, if you want people to go to a specific page on your website, or you want to drive them to a landing page. So if you write a great blog article, you can go on Facebook, you can post a link to that blog, and then you can drive people to your website, to that page, and then maybe from there they will look at other pages on your site. You also want to make sure that you have a good lead capture on that ungated content so that you can potentially capture their information for a lead. So when you're doing ungated content, which is content that's not behind any kind of wall, you don't have to give any information for it, there's always that chance that there's going to be people consuming your content and you're never going to know who they are. So a great way to supplement this is to also have gated content. So gated content is content that someone has to give a piece of information in order to get that content in return. So if you have a great white paper, you might want to put it behind a landing page so that the person has to fill in their name, their phone number, their email address, or whatever you choose, whatever is important to you in exchange for that content. So some businesses just give it away for free, and that's great, but it's not necessarily going to help you as far as lead generation and prospecting go, because now you have someone who has your content and you don't know how to get in touch with them. Because you can use the captured information and place people into targeted marketing campaigns based on what kind of content they downloaded. You'll get a better idea about who they are, what they're looking for, and you can put them into things like direct mail campaigns, drip email campaigns. So now they're not just someone consuming content, they're someone who is going to be marketed to, and hopefully will turn into a lead for you. All right. So as far as business development goes, you can use Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter for business development. They should all be used in different capacities. So when it comes to Facebook, I'm going to skip down to the bottom first. When you're using your personal account, leave work out of it as much as possible. Facebook is a very personal network, so if you're using Facebook as yourself, not as a business, try to leave work out. I know that some people are their business, like for example, real estate agents. So if that's your kind of industry, you should create a separate business page for your business, even though really the business is just you. So when you're using Facebook as a business, there's a lot of stuff that you can do for business development. You can engage with your users, start a conversation, send a message. You should definitely always respond to comments, and if someone gives you a direct message, respond to it as well. But don't forget to go out there and ask other people questions, comment on their posts. You can also run contests when you're using Facebook as a business page. Running contests can be a really cool way to get people to engage with your page. And there's certain platforms that will run a contest for you to make sure that you are abiding by all the rules and regulations that go along with it, because there are some. Two popular ones are WooBox and OfferPop, and they do things like run sweepstakes. They can run coupon deal incentives, photo contests, video contests, pin it to win it, instant win, and things like that. And if you go through one of those systems, it's a pretty low cost, and they'll just make sure that you are abiding by all the rules you need to. Okay, when it comes to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is great for business development because it is a social network that has mostly professionals and business-oriented people on it. Most of the content that's shared is not so personal, it's business-oriented, so it's great for that. So you always want to keep it professional. So when you're using LinkedIn as a business and not as your personal page, you want to share useful content for professionals, share articles that are published on LinkedIn by your employees. If you have any of your employees who use LinkedIn on their own and they're publishing, go ahead and share that on your business page if it's relevant. And you also want to engage with your followers. Then when you're using LinkedIn via your personal account, you can also use it for business development. So when you're using it on your personal account, you can definitely give recommendations to other people. And something that people don't always realize is that you don't have to work with someone in the same company to give a recommendation. You can give a recommendation to someone you've worked on a project with. You can review your clients, and people really appreciate that. You can also leverage your own contacts and ask for introductions. So you can search by job title, company. If you find someone who you're connected to, not directly, but if it's a third-degree connection maybe or a second-degree connection, you can go ahead and ask your contact if they would do you a favor and introduce you to that person who you want to be in touch with. And then finally, you definitely want to join groups on LinkedIn if you have the time to dedicate that. Join groups and participate in the groups. Joining the group and reading the post is not enough. Chime in on discussions, post your own posts. Be very active in the groups. The more active you are, the more you're going to get out of it. And there's groups for all sorts of things. Just go ahead, go on LinkedIn and take a look. Look under groups and find groups that are relevant to your business, that are relevant to your target. And don't join too many so it's overwhelming. Join a couple and make sure that you aren't overwhelmed and you can read through the posts and share and be really active and present. And finally, Twitter it's all about relationships. You can definitely use Twitter to build business relationships and prospect, but one thing I would not do with Twitter is don't cold direct message people on Twitter. That's something that is kind of a Twitter faux pas. What you want to do is if you find somebody that you would like to connect with on Twitter, just send them a tweet. Just tweet out their Twitter handle and try to start the conversation from there. Retweet their tweets. You can always follow them. You can use streams to follow them within Twitter itself. You can set up streams to follow influencers. You can follow your competition. That way you can filter out all the rest of the noise that's going on and really get down to what you want to use as far as business development. All right, so that is pretty much all I have for today. So what I'm going to do is take everyone off mute, and if you have any questions, you can. Oh, there we go. Okay.
She's not due for an exam or for research.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, I'm going to stay on the line for a couple more minutes, and if anybody wants to ask me a question, I'll be here.